From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. We're going to begin tonight with random terror and its after effects. When a single individual pulled out a handgun last night and began to kill people on a commuter train making its way out of New York City, this city certainly gasped and said, "Not again." And in other parts of the country, when people heard that 5 had been murdered and 20 others injured on the train, a very broad reaction seemed to be, is any place safe in this day and age? He was quite methodical. He killed, he reloaded, and he killed again. Our first report is from ABC's Karen Burns.
It was rage unleashed. Commuters bound for home, targeted by a man exploding with racial hatred. A man who deliberately selected a captive crowd of affluent, upper-middle-class people to become his victims.
I was in the third car of the train with the shooter. I heard popping noises, and I don't know what instinct told me this was the real thing, because I almost immediately ducked down behind my seat and as close to the floor as I could get.
As the train slowed, 3 passengers managed to subdue the gunman. When the train arrived at the next stop, passengers were piled atop one another, bleeding and in shock. The gunman was taken away, and this morning police tried to shed some light on his motive.
Paperwork reveals strong hostility being harbored by him in terms of racism.
Police say the suspect, Colin Ferguson, is a native of Kingston, Jamaica. He apparently had pages of notes in his pocket as he went on his shooting spree. They were filled with angry references to whites, Asians, and Uncle Tom blacks. Police searched his room in a boarding house in Brooklyn this morning and found piles of paper, the contents of which have not been revealed. According to law enforcement sources, Ferguson may have planned this attack as early as spring when he went out to California and purchased a 9mm semi-automatic weapon capable of firing up to 15 rounds.
He came in on May the 9th of '93, paid the balance of his account on the firearm layaway agreement, and picked up the firearm.
Ferguson gave the shop a Long Beach, California address, which turned out to be this motel, where, according to the manager, Ferguson stayed from April 22nd to May 12th, just over the 15-day waiting period required to purchase a gun in California. Police say Colin Ferguson does not have a criminal record. By all accounts, Colin Ferguson was a drifter, a loner. In the end, he might never have been noticed had it not been for his trip on the 5:33 train to Hicksville. Karen Burns, ABC News, New York.
At the White House today, President Clinton called yesterday's killing a terrible human tragedy. It underlines the need, he said, for Congress to pass a comprehensive crime bill, one that would put more police on the streets and limit the sale of assault weapons.
There are a lot of things that we're going to have to do in this country to get violence under control that relate to rebuilding our communities and healing across racial lines and economic lines. But we need to start with public safety.
Just 2 weeks ago, President Clinton signed into law the first national legislation to regulate the sale of handguns in many years. The Brady Law, which requires handgun buyers to wait 5 days for a background check, doesn't take effect until the end of February. In the meantime, as ABC's Bob Jameson reports, in some places, gun sales have actually accelerated.
When the Brady bill passed, Jeff Tibbetts decided now was the time to buy a new handgun at this shop in Smyrna, Georgia. Now, before the bill with its mandatory waiting period changes the law here.
I'd just like to have one, what I want before it goes into effect, and I really don't want to have to wait 5 days.
In Hooksett, New Hampshire, where there also is no waiting period, Reno Pelletier bought a .38 Special.
Basically, with the Brady bill just passing, realizing that within a couple months it might be a little more difficult to purchase a handgun, I decided to pick one up now.
Pelletier and other gun enthusiasts know the bill's background check wouldn't prevent them from getting a gun, but they think it is an infringement on their rights. And in this state, guns, hunting, and sport shooting are considered an important right. In New Hampshire, there are 1,200 licensed gun dealers, one for every 900 people in the state. Here, as in other states, passage of the Brady bill has caused a sudden, sharp increase in their business. Virtually every retail shop here has reported higher sales in the last week, some as much as 40% higher. And that's more than could be accounted for by the hunting and Christmas seasons.
It's 90 days before enactment of that bill, and it's probably the reason people are trying to buy now.
And they are buying more than handguns. Dealers say the big sellers are semi-automatic weapons like these. Buyers are rushing to purchase them because of the prospect they will be banned next year by Congress. Colorado dealer Mel Bernstein specializes in the sale of assault weapons.
Normally we sell 6 or 8 a day, which is good for out here. It's up to like 35 to 40. It's unbelievable.
The new legislation was designed to reduce the number of guns. It may do that, but shooting enthusiasts say in the short run the result will be the opposite. Bob Jamieson, ABC News, Manchester, New Hampshire.
And there is a lot of fear out there. What happened last night on the Long Island Railroad is the kind of violence that many Americans fear most, inexplicable acts of violence, most frightening because there appears to be no way to predict it or to protect against it. Here's ABC's Aaron Brown.
Last night, it was Long Island.
It was really a bloodbath.
But this random terror has happened many times in many places before and has often happened where terror is most foreign. In a San Francisco law office last summer, 8 people killed. 2 years before, in Luby's cafeteria in Killeen, Texas, 23 people shot to death after a man smashed his truck through the front window. In Stockton, California in 1989, it was a schoolyard. 5 dead children, 29 wounded. Last night, it was Garden City.
We've gone for 160 years with virtually no incidents, and nothing of this magnitude, and we would expect that it won't happen again.
Random murders like those on Long Island are by definition unpredictable and therefore unpreventable.
No matter where it is, that could have been me there, because it's an ordinary event, it's an ordinary place. Riding on a commuter train is an ordinary occurrence. Hundreds of thousands of people do it all the time.
Psychologists say that these random killings damage the most basic beliefs that people have, that they are safe and in control of at least the most routine moments of their lives. So what you heard across the country today was a sense of fatalism in Atlanta.
Incidents are going to occur. I mean, we really have no control over it. But I don't believe that you're supposed to live your life in fear.
And from San Francisco.
I have a choice. Am I going to live in a locked-in life? No. You know, am I going to be somebody that gets killed on a commuter train in these times? Possibly.
When we see the random victims in Long Island, we in a real way see ourselves. And so today, many saw the ordinary differently, less certain they are routine and unsure that they are safe. Aaron Brown, ABC News, New York.